Well, guys, how's she going? So, yeah, went and did some shopping a little bit and whatever else. And they were threatening a little bit of rain today, so I didn't know how far I was going to get with anything. But I don't think it rained at home. I think it rained more south, like where my bank is at, that town over there. So, because it rained over there a little bit, but I don't think it did a damn thing over here. The grass is a little bit wet, but I think that might just be from high humidity and stuff. I'm going to try to mow my lawn this afternoon. I don't know if I'll get a chance to. I'm going to let it. The sun might come out a little bit, so maybe the grass will dry up a little bit more and maybe I can cut it. It's been, phone says about 8 days since I last mowed. So I'm getting a little bit longer days now, or I can wait a little bit longer now. So, but yeah, so I also just got done sweeping out the building again. I went through it one more time, knocked down some cobwebs and stuff that I haven't knocked down yet, obviously, and reswept the floor again, and yeah, definitely came up with another load of crap. Like, not crap that you would burn, obviously, like it's I don't know, small material that you can just throw on your lawn and it would disappear within a few days. So it's really fine particles, but so yeah, got quite a bit out of there again, and don't know if I'll sweep it one more time yet. I was kind of hoping that this would be my last time for the year, but I might risk it and just try it one more time, just to further get trash and stuff out of it, and then I have stuff that's going to go back in that building. There's stuff that I did save out of that building that don't know if I'll ever use it. And we did find a brand, well, I don't know if it was a brand new roll or not, but it was of roofing material that would go under your shingles, that black stuff. We found a pretty good roll of it there, and we always need more of that stuff, so we hung on to that. There's a couple of those A-frames that there's 4 of them. They're small, so I honestly don't know what the hell you would ever use them for, because if you were to make a building out of them, the building would be probably like 2 feet wide by, like 40 feet long, probably. I don't know. So they wouldn't really do you any good for a building, but I don't know, might make something out of them someday. But that, and then we're done hauling trees. We finally got rid of all these trees here. I did end up taking one down right here. That guy was bending over here, and I didn't like it, obviously. Now we still have one more that's leaning here, but he's leaned up into the other tree, so there's really no way of bringing him down safely. So I may just end up leaving that and letting Mother Nature decide on what happens to that tree. But we did get rid of all the trees that were out in the field finally. It took longer. It actually took us, I think, like 3 days to get this done. A lot of it was just farting around because some trees had to get cut up because they were too big to haul down the road, so they had to get cut up a little bit. And then the 400 was running like complete trash. It wasn't running right. It almost acted like it was starving for fuel. And then when you would mess with the choke, well, then it would, come back to life right away. So we don't know exactly. Well, we weren't really too sure what it was, but I guess my uncle said that he had a set of new points that he was going to put in that thing at some point. So he decided to do it last night or yesterday. And then we came down here and finished up the little bit of trees that we did have left, and the thing was running perfectly fine. Running just like the A would run. The A ran strong. I think the engine is not running 100% like it should be. I think the carburetor probably needs to be rebuilt. Probably needs to be adjusted again. But we would need a book on how to adjust that properly. And I don't know if my books talk about that. But yeah. What do you do? So, but yeah, with both of the tractors, we unfortunately it took us probably about 3 days to do this, when I really thought we could have had it all done. Well, if we didn't have to cut up trees, we would have had it probably done in a day. But again, we were only going for a couple hours, you know, because we didn't start until about 7 o'clock at night, because it was too hot during the day. It was, I mean, there was days that we were freaking 100 degrees, 105. That's the index heat. So, but yeah, so I don't know, but, and then it gets dark here by 8:30, and then it's pitch black by 9. So the other night, not last night, but the night before, we did go until about 9:30, which is highly risky for my uncle because he doesn't have lights on his tractor. On the A we do. The front ones, they were working when we first got the tractor, brought the tractor back to life, and then for some reason the front headlights decided not to work anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I broke a wire or something. But I never did ever tinker with it or anything. I just let it go because I figured, well, we're not going to really run the tractor much at night anyway. But then we ended up running at night. And then, actually, we ended up doing that 2 times. This first time, I needed the lights on just to even get home, so I could remotely see the road all right. Well, then I had one front headlight, but I didn't have the other one. And you have a high-low beam for those headlights. On these Farmalls, you had that option. You don't really get that too much. I mean, my 1586 never had that, you know. Never had a high-low beam setting for your lights. It was just field and road. So, so I had that one on high just to give me as much light as possible, so I at least could see to get home. Because I mean, we had pole lights, but they were, you know, far apart. So you had dark spots in the road and whatever else. So, but then when I got home, I realized, well, I have one front headlight, but I don't deal with the other one's not working. So all I did was I went and grabbed it, twisted it slightly, and then it started working. So it's a grounding issue. Because those lights ground differently than how I think most vehicles today would do it. Most vehicles would actually have a wire grounding it. These, since everything was made out of metal back in those days, they were actually able to just have the light fixture ground itself to the mounting bracket, and then the mounting bracket was mounted to, you know, the tractor, the frame of the tractor, and it would ground that way. So it actually eliminated one wire. You would just have your power wire. So, which I thought was, it's kind of unique. You don't see that too much now, but it can be kind of an issue, I guess, once your light fixtures become dirty. You have to clean them every once in a while, or whatever, you know, clean the rust up so they ground properly. But yeah, so then we ran the other night to about 8:15 or whatever, I think it was, well, yeah, it had to be 9:30 because it was pitch black out by then. So we ran a little later that second time, but we were forced to shut down again because my uncle doesn't have lights and he can't see, you know, in front of him, and the pole lights only do so much. So we ended up just calling her a night, and then last night we came back out around 7 and finished it up. Now, like I said, we did haul all the trees and stuff down here, so we are, I want to say we're 100% done hauling trees, but there's still going to be a lot of cleanup, like a lot of branches and stuff. I want to clean up in here, which you can't see, I guess, too well. This needs to get cleaned up because I want to mow all this at some point. I'll be going underneath that sketchy tree, but I don't think it's going to come down because it's stuck up in the other tree. It would take probably a pretty nasty wind to, you know, to push it back over, which would be a good thing if it did do that for me, but yeah, taking this overhead tree, I think helped a lot too. I think it opened up the ground where I'm sitting right now. There's a lot more sun here now, so this is always a wet spot right here where I'm parked. It's always so wet. It takes a very long time for it to dry out, so I feel like now getting rid of an extra tree, you're just getting all that more sunlight and all that more wind and stuff down in here, which will dry it out a little bit better. So, but yeah, I got a mess over there to clean up behind us here, or behind you guys. You know, I didn't take that whole tree out. I just cut the tree in half and just took the first half because I don't think I'll be mowing way up in there. So, if I do, well then I'll snip away at it every now and then because I don't really have time to be dealing with trees anymore. I need to move on to other things now. Yeah, like I said, I did sweep that building again, and then I'm gonna probably, I don't know, I guess wait a couple days and then I'll probably end up doing it again. I guess I left my mask in the back. Yeah, I guess I did. So shut up, radio. But yeah, so unfortunately I believe sprung another leak. It's not really that big of a deal because I have to pull it out anyway to pull the PTO out. But I believe the belt pulley shaft oil seal is leaking now. Which I don't have that. It's actually a different seal than what I have. I thought they both shared the same seal, but apparently they don't. They're different seals. And you can get all that from Steiner, but it sounds like from Steiner that if you had a thicker seal, like a factory one, from, you know, a original seal, which is probably what's on there now. Apparently the original ones were thicker than these newer ones, so apparently the newer ones can still leak. But it sounded like if that happens, you have to put two of them in. You got to put two seals in. So I guess you would drive one in further than normal, and then you'd put your other one in. So you'd have basically two side by side each other, or in front of each other, or whatever, how you want to look at it. And apparently that'll fix your leak. But I think to replace that seal, it's going to be a lot easier because it looks like all it is just a cap, and then it's held into place with like 3 bolts, and you would take that cap off, and then there's your seal would be in that cap. But then you have a gasket in between your cap and then the main housing of your, you know, your pulley stuff. So I don't have the seal either for that. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Because I usually when I buy a kit, well, then I get everything. So I don't know. But I know I don't have the oil seal. But I'm going to order 2 of those because if they say that you may have to put 2 of them in there, then I want the other one then. So then I'll do that. But it doesn't look like there's really a lot of room to put 2 in there. But I don't know. All I can do is really experiment with it, I guess, and see what the hell happens. But if it starts to leak again, well then I'll have to put the other one in there too then. But it's not really that big of a deal because I got to pull the belt pulley housing off, and then the PTO will come off. You know, like if you want to, I think you could take it all off as one big unit, but I think for convenience, less weight, and repairs, it's just better to take it all apart from each other, so then it's just less, you know, if that makes sense. So it's less work, I guess. But I don't know, I'm hoping here in the next couple because I think we're pretty much done using the A now. We're probably not 100% done. If I get the repairs done before winter, I might run the tractor one more time. If not, well, then that'll be the end of it for the year. But the tractor has performed very well for me, considering we haven't really done much to it. We fixed the starter, got the engine out, obviously unstuck. Had to put a new head gasket in because obviously I destroyed the old one, taking the head off. But I had to take the head off to see what the pistons were doing. I have a rebuild kit for the carburetor, just haven't done anything with it yet. I have a couple other, I know I have a couple other parts right now too, but I just haven't used them yet. So once we fix the PTO and it performs, I mean, you'll know if it starts to leak. You'll know, because it'll start leaking probably right away. Goes my antenna, but yeah. So that's what's going to be hopefully next week sometime. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I just have to get kind of caught up. And this down here for these branches and stuff, it's not really top priority. It's just something that does need to get done, but it doesn't have to get done today. I mean, I don't really even have to do it, period. I can just let it go for the winter and then deal with it next year. But or the river might even do me a favor and come up and push those branches off into a corner somewhere, and I'll never have to ever look at them again. So, but in other words, the trail's opened again. It's enough for, I guess, whatever we're doing. Again, that still needs to be cleaned up as well. There's still branches laying everywhere, but if you really had to get down it for some reason, you could with no troubles. But I don't know. And I still would kind of like to run the grain truck one more time. I've only ran that thing once this year, and that was probably 2 months ago probably that I started it, and it hasn't ran since. I just don't really have time for it because we have other projects, and plus the water pump on that truck leaks. I don't know if it's the water pump itself or if it's the gaskets that's shot. I was having a hard time finding just the gasket, because I was maybe just going to try replacing the gasket for it, but you can buy the kit, which is you'd get a brand new water pump and the gasket. So I'm starting to think, it's like, well, why not just replace both of them and then just be freaking done with it, you know? But then that's like $270. And honestly, I almost I need the Farm All A way more than I do the grain truck. So that's why this winter I'm going to try to stock up on parts for the A. I want to get a new manifold for it. Apparently I found a guy that sells the exhaust pressure valve, but he sells it in parts only. It's not a full unit, so you have to buy each part. So that could probably get kind of expensive, because for just the bottom half, if it's correct for what I'm dealing with, it's $120. So if you times 2 that, plus that little special seal that goes in between the two. There is supposed to be a seal there, but it's fireproof. But they still wear down with time. You have to have that there so you don't have too much of an exhaust leak. And then yeah, so we'll do all that, and then put that all on there, and then you can put a muffler back on it and a rain cap, and I can put the hood back on it, and she won't be so naked without it. So, and I also have to take the front right Yeah. The front right steering wheel has to come off. Steering tire. That's got to come back off because I think the seal, there's a seal in there that I think that went out. And grease is bypassing it now and it's making it look wet. I don't think it's a bearing. I don't think a bearing failed. I think it's just I think there are seals in there. And I think one of them possibly is dried out now, or it cracked, or it's whatever. But that's going to be a next year problem. Chances are I'm probably going to, if I can do it. Ooh, bumpy. I think I'm just going to put new bearings in it too. I might as well just completely rebuild that tire and that hub and everything. Just completely rebuild it, and then it should be fine for a few years. And then eventually I'll do the other one too. So, because I kind of want to obviously start giving this. I mean, my 1586 needs parts too, and I may or may not try to order them, but I'm still going to talk to the young guy and see what he thinks, what he really wants to do, if he really wants to try to take on the challenge, or because it's not going to go to Case IH. If it has to go to Case IH, we're talking possibly 5 years down the road, and that to me is kind of a waste of money when I have a guy literally 10 miles from home that has worked on tractors like this. Now, he's never worked on a 1586. He says that would be all new to him, but I would still trust him because it's still an 86 series tractor and he knows way more about them than I do. So I still would trust him 100%. And the problem with taking it to a Case IH dealer, yeah, they'll work on older stuff, but they don't really care for it. And sometimes people don't know what to do with these old tractors anymore. Because they're not trained in that department. They're only trained in all this newer technology stuff now. So if you're going to have an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid working on a 40-year-old tractor, he ain't going to know what to do with it. Because it doesn't have what he knows. So, I mean, yeah, he can be trained to do that, but you got to be that kind of a kid that's willing to learn how to fix old tractors along with the new stuff. You know, so, and there's not many kids today that want to work on the old garbage. It's more of the newer stuff they want to work on. And that's what they're mostly being trained to do anyway. So for me, I think I'm going to train myself to work on the older stuff. And the Farmall A is actually the perfect tractor to do it on because they are very simple tractors. There's no computers on these things at all. They don't need them. Even today's tractors don't need them, but they do it. So, well, yeah, a Farmall tractor, like a Farmall A or a B or whatever, or even a Cub, they're perfect to work on. Especially if you're a newbie and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Go get yourself one of those tractors. Even if it's not running, it's junk. Just tear the bitch apart, and learn, figure out how it's put together, and then put it back together. And then if you actually want to, let's say, rebuild an engine. Let's say the engine's like wore out, but you think you could get it to run again. Rebuild it. You know, find out what tools you need, order the tools, rip it apart, gut it, get new parts for it, put it all back together, and fuck it, send it. See if the bitch fires up, you know? So, but yeah, it's kind of just, I mean, what do you do? So there's no way in hell that thing's going to be going to Case IH. Because I don't think anybody around here is qualified enough to really even work on such old equipment. If anything, the young guy ought to just, I think if he freaking retired from farming, I think he should just become his own international harvester repair shop and just work strictly on international tractors. I bet you he'd make a killing on it. Because you know there's still tons of people around here that run them. You know, a lot of the smaller ranchers and farmers, they still run old equipment like that. And, you know, he could fix them up no problem and they'd run just fine. So, and they would last for many years because they were done right. So, but I don't know. But I'll talk to him later on and see what he thinks. And if he thinks he wants to do it, then I'll have to start ordering parts for that as well. I'll just order what I can when I can. And then whenever we think we have the, you know, enough parts to fix what needs to be fixed, then it's just, they'll have to do, I guess. I don't know, you know. So it's going to need a new tire put on it too. I still got to order a new tire and whatever the hell else. So, but I don't know. It is what it is, I guess, at this point. So, but other than that, that's pretty much it.